Hello, this is Blaster Toad here, and we're back in the dungeon generator project. It still has a couple issues, like every once in a while we get a dropped corridor, mostly to do with truncating on the corners, so we're going to fix that. We also want to get rid of this here, parallel corridors. We don't need that. And then if there's a corridor that runs parallel to a room, we get door spam here. We need to fix that and set up logic for where to put the doors. We could make it dumb simple and just like put the doors here, but I want that to make a nice inner hallway. Just to make it a little bit more complex, add some more interesting features. Okay, I've got a list of 5 bad spawns that we're going to keep checking against. Make sure things are fixed. But just before we get into the blueprints, check out the new ToadNet intro. I'm going to roll that now. Yeah, I love that intro. And thanks to Saltmonger, the guy who did the music on it. If you guys look up I've got the intro video just uploaded by itself as its own video. And you guys can find the link to Saltmonger's webpage in that. He does custom music at extremely reasonable rates and also is known to get into a game jam now and again. So definitely check him out. Anywho, straight into the project. And if I sound a little rushed or dispassionate, that's because I'm in about 14 or 17 hours of trying to make this video and like 7 takes later. So, yeah. That being said, the basic stuff I have down pat, so hopefully we can get through it without much issue. Okay. First thing we're gonna do is deal with these here. So we want to make it so we don't have to have a bunch of these and set our directions manually. So what I'm talking about is like here, we have point A to B on X, and then we have B to A. And the reason those are specifically laid out like that is that this is always ticking up in the positive direction. So we have to tell it which is the lower one, which is the higher one, and move in that direction. So we're going to get rid of that. We're going to simplify the truncating here. And then we're going to add a bit to check for parallel corridors. So let's jump into it. Firstly, we're going to get these starting back at 0 and ending at that last location there. Okay. Then for each axis that we're moving on, so X or Y, we're going to get our from direction. Check if it is less than our from point, not direction, and see if it's less than our to point. So that's going to tell us which direction we're traveling. We're going to use a select from there. And with that, we are going to multiply positive or negative to move up or down the track. So we're going to go take our index, multiply, and plug that in here. And for true, we're going to go 1. For false, we're going to go -1. Just like that. Beautiful. Okay. And then we're going to get rid of all of this. Well, not all of it. Just, we're going to break it down to a single point. Nope. Taking a while. I'm frozen up. So, other thing we're going to do really quick. We're going to go over to the event graph, where we have spawn tiles here. Sometimes I just disconnect this, but we're going to give ourselves a little more control. So under the variables, I'm going to go into our editor tools, add another boolean. I'm going to call this spawn tiles question mark. Gonna bring that out, and we're gonna go branch to our spawn tiles. Just like that. Compile, save. Okay, so now we can still see from our debug how our things are going, but we can also toggle whether or not we want it currently spawning the tiles. We can speed up our blueprint saves and compiles, things like that. Okay, let's go back to our make X that we're modifying. I'm gonna chop a bit more out here. Okay. So what we want to do is we're going to test the relative location, and we're testing it against other corridor tiles. If we hit one in the direction we're traveling, so we're just going to come off that select and plug it into whichever direction we're testing on. So make X, we're going to plug into X. Just like that. And we're going to bring this here back. I'm going to rename my stop variable to trunk. Okay, so I get whether or not it's truncating. And then my output, I'm going to rename truncated, just to make it a little bit more clear. If we hit the truncation, we are going to go and break our for loop with break. Add a couple of reroute nodes, just to keep that more readable. And there we go. Okay. Let's go make the same modification to our Y. So corridor make Y. Gonna get rid of all but one of those tests. And get rid of the loop that we had there. Gonna set our X to 0. And our Y to our selector that we're gonna do is our to location less than, or is our from location less than our to location. We will select. We are going to multiply the index by our selected value, and true is 1, false is -1. Okay, stop is going to become trunk, and my output is going to become truncated. And then we're going to plug that into here while bringing everything a little closer together to keep it more readable, and plugging in our break. Just like that. Get a couple reroute nodes for readability. Just like that. Okay. Now we need to check for parallels. So we'll just do compile save. What we're gonna do, yeah, we're gonna do our, oh, need to plug that in. We're gonna do our check for parallels here. So let's make a new macro. We're gonna call this check for parallel corridor tiles. And I'm just going to bring up my reference. Okay. So this one gets a little bit crazy. So we're going to use our test relative tile location. Okay. And we're going to get our difference in here. And that is going to be our test location. Okay. Since it's specifically for corridor tiles, we're just going to drop the corridor array right in here. Okay. We need to know which direction we're testing. So we're going to do test x question mark. Oh, not text x. Test x. Or let's, instead of test x, let's do x axis. There's a question mark. Okay. And then we need our direction step, which is an integer. Okay. What we need to do is check if the tile that we have coming in, if there's something to the left or to the right of it. So we're going to get this again. And then for the left and right, we want to see if there's something forward or back from that new location. So we're going to copy this again, plug that location in there, plug tiles in there. Okay, and then we're going to get it again. Location, tiles. We're going to copy that down here. Okay. We're going to do an OR. Off each of these. And then we're going to do an AND. And now we have to fill out our X and Y locations. So to do that, we are going to use some branch, or we're going to use this x-axis boolean and some select nodes. Let's bring out our first select. Our next one, and we need 4 in total over here. Do we need 4 in total? No, we need 2. Okay, we are then going to multiply the bottom one by -1. So you're going to put in our x, put in our y, and then put in our x and put in our y. Okay. So if we are testing on our x, we want x to be 0 because we want to see if something's to the left or right of it. So if x-axis is true, x will be 0. Okay. If x-axis is true, y will be 1. Okay. Then we need to do forward or back now. So we're going to take our direction, select, sorry, no, we want our Boolean, select, and either we're going to select our direction on X and add that here. Okay. And then our Y, we do the opposite. Okay, so we've got forward and back. Or sorry, we've got forward right now. Now we need back, so we're going to pull these out a little bit. And we're going to multiply -1. Or sorry, no, we only want to check if it's forward. Okay. Yes. So, sorry, just brain fart. We're gonna grab paint. So, we have our grid. Our grid that we're traveling along, right? Okay. And let's say we have the corridor we're working on. And then a corridor that already exists. And we also have a room. Okay. So as we're working on our corridor, we start at this position, we say, hey, is there a corridor beside us? Yes. Is there a corridor beside us and ahead of us in the direction we're traveling? Yes. Then we don't need to draw this tile. Okay? And so on and so forth until we get here and we say, hey, is there a corridor beside us? Yes. Is there a corridor ahead of us? No. It would draw this tile and give us this weird L shape here that we don't want. Okay, so we're going to test, is this here? And then is there a corridor here? Or is there a floor here? So our second one here is not going to be based off corridor tiles. It's going to be based off floor tiles. And then we're going to plug in the same values. Just like that. So in that case, we're going to bring these back up. We're going to plug our floor tiles into our second node there. And we're going to plug in our X and Y to both of those. Okay. Then if we find either of those, we're going to output, so we found either of them, and we're going to output a Boolean. And we're going to call that parallel found. Okay. And there is our check for parallel corridor tiles. Compile and save. We're now going to go into our make Y. We are going to pull out our check for parallel corridor tiles. We are going on the y-axis, so we are not using x. We're going to plug in our selector. And then we want there to not be parallel tiles. We only want to add a new tile if there's not parallels. So we're going to do an and. So it's not a floor tile, and it's not a parallel, then we'll make a new tile. Just like that. Okay. We're going to go do the same to our X. Add our check for parallels. Plug in our select. This time we're going to check yes, we're on the x-axis. not, and there we go. Compile and save. Oop, what is it not liking? No input for int vector. Uh-oh, I forgot to plug something in. Boop. And we're good to go. Okay. So there's our parallels. I'm just double checking my reference that I was building. Yep, okay. So there's our make x, makes y. And what we're going to do from here now is we are going to have to do this in reverse. So now that we've got that set up, we're going to duplicate make y. We're going to call it make y underscore reverse. Okay. Oh, apparently our make y, we never changed this. So we'll go back and change that real quick. We don't want to be clamping that at all. We want to use the raw values. Is my make x good? Make x is good. Okay. My make y reverse. Okay. So now we're going to take our index and we're going to minus our endpoint. Okay, so what we're getting here, so say this is 5 and we're starting at 0. So instead of going 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're now doing 5 minus 0 is 5. 5 minus 1 is 4, and so on and so forth, moving through that list backwards. Because we're moving through it backwards now, we need to change these. So we're just going to flip these values. So it's like that. Everything else stays exactly the same. So we're going to compile and save. And then we're going to go down to make x. We're going to duplicate. And we're going to call it make x reverse. And we're going to do the same modification. We're going to minus our index from our position. We're going to put that into our multiplier. And we are going to set, ooh, apparently I don't have that set right. So 1 and -1 I want here. But then I have to go back up to x and make that -1 and 1. Is my y good? Yep. And my y reverse is good. Yes. Compile and save. So now that we've got make x and make y and make x and make y in reverse, now we can make a section. So we're going to do a new function. Corridor underscore make section. Okay. Oh, we're going to rename this. Make simple section. Okay. So corridor underscore make underscore simple section. So for this, we're going to get 2 inputs. You're going to have a point A, int vector. Then we're going to add another. We're going to have point B. From that, we are going to decide which way it's going. So we're going to break our 2 vectors. Okay. And let's go back to our picture. So, in the corridor we're working on, okay? So your yellow corridor is the one we're building right now. We've got the forward vector, x, and the right vector, y. So if we're moving on x, y stays the same. We're not deviating left to right. Okay? So what we're going to check here is if y equals y, then we're on the x-axis. Okay. Okay. And then we're going to make this get, or no, is A to B on x-axis. Okay. If A to B is on the x-axis, then we are going to do a make x and then we're going to branch and we're going to have to make a local variable for tiles. Okay, so we're making something on the x-axis. Now we're going from A to B. So since we made those point A and B, we can now right click and do a get point A, because anything that's an input pin on a function can also be grabbed as a variable. I wish the same worked for output pins, but it doesn't seem to. And then we're going to do point B. Okay. Then we're going to do the same thing for make x in reverse. So if make x forward gets truncated, then we're going to go do make x in reverse. And then we'd set tiles again. Okay. And then we need an output. So we're going to click on the head here. We're going to do outputs. Our outputs are going to be tiles. Oh. Corridor tiles. Then that is going to be an array. The other thing we want to output is a single Boolean. And we're going to check if it's been reversed. Just like that. Okay. So we're going A to B on X, and then we just need to duplicate that on Y. So let's quickly do that. Oh, we're just gonna hit that with a straighten because it looked kind of off. So now we're gonna go make Y reverse. Let's copy all those bits down. Straighten that off. Align some things a little nicer, and then there we go. So we're either making a section on X or we're making a section on Y, and we're outputting whether or not it's been reversed with its tiles. There we go. Compile, save. Actually, what else we could do here is do we want to do that here? No, we'll leave this as is. Okay. So what this is doing is so we're making a corridor here. Say this red block, instead of being a floor, is a corridor. So we're gonna go and we're gonna say, oh, I hit the corridor. Actually, no, let's make a new corridor. Okay, we're gonna make a corridor here. So it's going forward a block, going forward a block, going forward, and hits, and it gets truncated. Okay, so we just kind of stop there. If that happens, we're still trying to reach this room. So instead of leaving that room hanging there with no connection, we're going to go to this end and work back from reverse and hook back into that hallway that's already there. That's what this is doing for us. So we try moving forward. If we can't, then we move backwards from the room. So the room we're trying to get to always has a connection. And there we are. Okay. And now that we have that, we can go to our map corridors. And so here's a fun thing here. This loop doesn't actually do anything because the only time our endpoints here are going to fail is if we're culling floor tiles, right? So if we turn on floor culling and we have holes like this and it tries to start here, that is the only time a corridor going from here to there will fail because there's no floor in that area that got cut off. So instead of looping and actually in this case not actually getting anywhere, we're going to delete that and we're going to get rid of all these ones below it. Look at that craziness. We're just chopping stuff out. And I'm going to go turn spawn tiles back off because it's getting a little slow. Okay. So now that we got that chopped off, we're going to bring all those pins into here. Okay. And if these are not both in floor tiles, then we are going to get floor tiles, add a unique node, and do that again. And we're going to put in our point A and our point B. And there we go. We'll do a rewrote node right there. But now we don't have to do that looping because it never actually helped. And we've just really simplified that logic there. Now we're going to keep one of our debug corridors. And we're going to get rid of everything else there. So we'll bring out our corridor make simple section. We'll plug in our A and B. And then we're going to go into our local variables, find our tiles, and set tiles. And then we're going to do our debug. Just like that. That's it. Now, all of our straight corridors should still spawn, even though that's just been cut down to 1/4 of what it was. So if we spawn tiles, there we go. Our straight corridors are working in both directions. Actually, all 4 directions, because we've got some going that way, we've got some going that way, we've got that way and that way. We're good. Okay. So our next step is to do the same thing for our corners. Okay. So we're going to copy this, and we're going to replace all of this with it. Actually, we're going to leave 2 debug nodes out. Get rid of the rest of that. And I left spawn tiles on, so it's going to take a while to actually delete. So long. Come on. There we go. Turn off spawn tiles. Okay. So we're going to copy this. And we're going to plug in every one of these. Oh, there's still a couple more. I'm like, that's got to be the last one, right? Nope. Still 2 more. There we go. Now we're all connected. Okay. Just like that. Okay. Look at how much cleaner that is. Just beautiful. Okay. So we're going to bring our debug in. We'll plug our debugs back in later. But first we're going to do another new function, and this one's going to be called corridor underscore make underscore corner. Okay. So our corridor make corner, we need a few things. So we need point A, and it's going to be a int vector again. Point B, and corner. Okay. Now that we have that, we're going to make a simple section. from point A to corner. Okay, we're actually going to make that a little bit more clear, and we're going to do a get point A, get point B, get corner, come on, where's my corner? Seriously? Do I have to like compile this and then be like, promote to variable, what's this value, blah, blah, blah. Get corner. Yeah, now that it's compiled, I can grab it. There we go. So we're going to go point A to corner. Okay, and this is when we actually care if it's been reversed. So we need, again, to promote this to a local variable. We're going to call it tiles again. Wide, oh, there we go, tiles. Now what we're going to do is after we've made this section, we're going to check if it was reversed. We want to make sure it was not reversed. And the length of tiles is greater than 1. And then we're going to branch. Okay. So it was not branched. And oh, actually, we want this is less than 2. No, we want greater than 1. Sorry, I'm having a brain fart. It's getting kind of late here. But basically, what's this is doing is when we come here and we start coming backwards, at that point, actually, because yeah, we hit something, we start working backwards. We still want those tiles. We do want those tiles, but we don't want them if it's less than. So if that's greater than 1, yeah, basically if length is greater than 1. Yeah. The first section, we really don't care if it is, if it's been reversed or not. It's the second section that we care if it's been reversed. Okay, so we set our tiles. Okay. Then we're going to make another simple section. Except for this time, instead of going A to corner, we're going corner to B. Okay. Now, if this has been reversed, branch. So if it was reversed, then we want to set tiles. And that way we're overwriting the first one. Because what we're doing there is, you can get rid of this. Okay. So we've got our corridor that comes here and then goes this way. Okay. If something intersects it here, we want to build back to that, but then we don't want this bit just hanging out there vestigially, right? So we're just going to ignore any tiles that were drawn in this direction. If that's not the case, if it didn't reverse, then we want to add to those tiles. So we're going to get tiles, we're going to append array. Okay. Oh, and if this is false, if this is less than 1, or if this is only 1 or less, then we just want to skip to making the second section. This is just here because in testing, which I did a ton of, there was sometimes you get a little nib. So you'd get a section where it's like, okay, there's 1 bit here and then nothing. So we're just getting rid of that. Okay, and then we need an output. And our output is going to be corridor tiles. And it'll be an array. And that's going to be whatever grouping of tiles that we have at the end. There we go. Make corner from 2 simple sections if second half is truncated, discard first half. And there we go. We're going to compile, save. There we go. Back to our corridor map corridors. We're going to plug in our corridor make corner. And then here we're going to plug in our local A, B, and corner. So this is the first time I'm setting this up exactly like this. Previously, that simple section I had as a X and Y path in here. So we're gonna see if this works, and we're all gonna go through this as a learning experience together. Yay! Don't you love when I stray from my notes and we're gonna do this different way that I've never done before. It's like, hey, I like exploring new things too. Always learning. Compile, save. Okay, and now, if we spawn tiles, we should see our room that was previously left behind is connected. Let's go through a couple other bad spawns. So I've got another seed here that had some dropped corridors. Ooh. We've got a few weirdnesses happening here. That is definitely worse than it was previously. Neat. Let's try another spawn. Okay, so we're still getting drops. Now we need something to help us see these drops. So we're going to take our debug corners. We're going to plug that in. And then up here, we already have our straight corridors plugged in. The other thing we want to do is we're going to go to our debug corridor section. I'm going to copy the text spawning part of it. I'm going to go to our debug room extents, paste that in. We're going to get this center point here. We're going to minus our world location. We get the actor location. And then we're going to add some height to it. So I'm going to add a vector. I'm going to add Z 250. And that is going to be my transform location. Okay. Then our relative transform Y will be -90. And then our other transforms will be 10, neg 10, 10. Going to get rid of world size because it really doesn't do anything useful here. We are going to get our rooms. From rooms, we are going to get keys. And then from our keys, we are going to find. And we're going to pull in our location. And then we're going to plug that into our value there. So what this is going to do for us, which you'll see in just a second, is show us the room numbers and the spawn order. There we go. So, where is number 8? 8 is going to 9 through here. Okay. So 0 is going to 1. But 0 to 1 is failing. Okay, that's interesting. And 5 to 6 is also failing. And 9 to 10 is also failing. So it's always on the first leg of a corner. Let's go see what I messed up in our corners. We're going to go to our corridor make corner. Point A to point B. The length of corridor tiles is greater than 1. Then we add tiles, yes. This is going A to corner. Figures out which way it's supposed to go. Makes A. 4 goes in reverse. Or makes X and then goes in reverse. Makes X and then... Oh. We're not plugged in on our make Y or make Y reverse. Or sorry, that one doesn't need to be plugged in. That one's set. We weren't plugged in on make Y. So just a missing pin. There we go. Do we have any dropped corridors now? No. Okay. Let's go to our other one that we saw a ton of dropped corridors. So not an issue, just a pin that I forgot to plug in. Okay. See, and here's where we get like these really nice, interesting ones now. So this tried to go this way. It doesn't spawn any of the parallel ones. It gets truncated because it runs into something. So then comes from the opposite direction. And we get that really nice branching corridor there. Same thing right here. A really nice branching corridor. Yeah. It just keeps getting better. Okay. Enough of that. So, we've got our corridors spawning. Oh, homework for you all. Don't you love homework? So right now, our debugs are showing the wrong information because they don't have this description properly laid out anymore. So what you can do as homework, because we don't need to watch me type in a ton of things on the video here, is off each of these pins have a variable. So I'm just going to make my local variable here, debug description, and that will be text. So off each of these lines, set your debug description to whatever you got here. So A to B on y-axis, B to A on y-axis, so on and so forth. And then we can plug in the debug description there. And then same thing down here. Just labeling all those things, and that will help you with your debug. Yeah. There we go. So, now that we've got that, let's fix our door spam. Okay. So wherever we have a parallel, so this room is slightly smaller, and this corridor runs down its side, we get all these doors being built. And we need to get rid of that. So, let's go work on our door spawning. So we're going to go to our spawn tiles. We're going to take our spawn doors, select it all, and delete it. No, I'm just kidding. We aren't deleting it. We are going to right-click, collapse to function, and we're going to call that spawn tiles underscore doors. And then I'm going to go turn off my spawn tiles. There we go. Spawn tiles doors. There we are. So we're checking corridor tiles, we're checking stuff, we're doing a lot of things here, and we're going to do so much. Actually, it's pretty simple right now, but it's soon not going to be. It shall soon not be. Okay. Again, let me just get to my reference, because this one's another one that gets a little nutso. The first things first is pretty simple. We're going to take this here, and we're going to copy it, paste it up here. We're going to bring in our array element. And then instead of floor tiles, we want this coming from corridor tiles. Okay. And then we're going to put it in order. So we want positive x, positive y, negative y. I'm going to straighten this off a bit. Just to add some semblance of readability to it. And then off our x's, we want to do an and. And then off of our y's, we want to do an and. Then we want to do an or. So what this is doing is we're checking our current corridor, and then we're saying, hey, is there something in front and behind me, or is there something to my left and to my right. And that's telling us if it's in the middle of a sequence. So if we go put our spawn tiles back on, so say this tile, for example, right here, okay, right near that square, we get this tile and we say, hey, is there something in front of me and behind me? No. Is there something to my right and to my left? Yes. I'm in the middle of a sequence, right? It's in the middle of a corridor. And that's exactly what this is giving us. So we're going to take this. We are going to just collapse nodes. Is tile in middle of corridor sequence. And we want to output our OR. Is tile in middle of the corridor sequence? If that is true, we don't want to do anything. So we're going to move this all down. We're going to do this check. And then we're going to do a not. And the reason we haven't turned this into a macro or into a function and we just hit the collapse is we're not going to use it anywhere else. So just collapsing it gets it away and makes it nice and easy to navigate around instead of having this block of stuff over up here. So like for this, for example, this is what we're going to be building. Okay, not very pretty. So let's do our best to keep it kind of pretty. So there we go. So our next step is to do something kind of like our well, actually first we need a Boolean. So local variables, we're going to make a new Boolean door found, and that is going to be Boolean, and we're going to set it to false right at the beginning because we're going to use it as a flag later on. Okay, so our door is not currently found because we're just entering in on that tile. Okay, this here we're going to move way down here because we're going to use it later. But first, we're going to kind of duplicate it. So we're going to take a few of those bits, move them up here. Okay. Now from here, we need to check well, first actually, since we now have that, let's plug this back in. We can see what we've done. Compile, save. So we now should see, hey, we don't have a bunch of doors here. We only have a few doors here. So our next step is to check, so this one, I want the door entering here. Okay, so we're going to check, hey, from the tile I'm at, I'm not in the middle. If I have a floor here, do I have a corridor here? And then make a door. Okay, so if I've got a floor ahead of me, do I have a corridor behind me? If so, make a door. And then this one will go away because it says, okay, I've got a corridor or a floor ahead of me, but I don't have a corridor behind me. Don't make a door. And then over in this corner, we're going to say, hey, am I in a corner? Don't make a door. Yeah. So So first we're going to check for the, do I have floor in front or behind me set up? So we're going to do a new macro. And our macro is going to be called door relative location test. Door relative location test. It just rolls off the tongue. We're going to get our test relative tile location. Plug that in there. We are going to get our floor tiles. And we're going to straighten that off. And we're going to do an and. And then we're going to copy this. And we're going to put in our corridor tiles. I'm going to do this. And now we need X and Y in here. So X, Y, and our X and Y go straight in there. Our X gets modified here, so we're going to multiply it by -1 to go into this X. And then our Y also gets -1. Because we're seeing if there's something in front of us and behind us. Okay. So if this is X1, we're checking, hey, is there a door in front of me? Or is there a floor in front of me? And is there a corridor behind me? Then I will do things. So we're going to plug that in there. And you're going to see the issue with this fairly shortly, I believe. Okay? Because it basically just misses a step. So we're going to compile, save, turn off my spawn tiles because that felt slow. We're going to go to our spawn tiles doors. We're going to replace this here with our door relative location test. Okay. And then we want to follow this sequence. So we're going to do X1. Well, actually, we're going to get 4 of these out here first so that we don't have to keep overwriting stuff. Okay. So firstly, X1. Then Y1. Then X -1 and Y -1. Okay. Pop those in there. Gonna align this a little bit. Come off there. And then we're going to plug in the spawn tiles. And then we need to plug our rotation into here. Okay, let's test it. Oh, I forgot to plug in a thingamajig. There we go. Please don't. Oh, good. I am recording. I'm like, oh no, am I not recording? Okay. So if we spawn tiles, hey, look, we did what we wanted here. It only has the door coming from the one direction. It doesn't have another one there. We haven't fixed that corner yet, but hey, that's soon to come. The problem is, if we come, where is it? It's not on this map. Okay. If we go to another more different seed. Is this the right seed? I know one of them has the error that I want to show off. Right here. So we have a tile, or a corridor that is only one tile long. So it says, hey look, there's a floor here. Do I have a corridor behind me? No, don't spawn a door. So we just borked one tile corridors. Let's fix it. So if we go into our door relative location test, as well as checking for a corridor behind us, we're also going to check if there is a floor tile behind us. So that way, if there's another corridor, or if there's a floor flanking us, we will build a thing. So we need an OR. Plug that in, compile, and we need to plug this in. Compile, save. And now we've got a door either side of our one block corridor. Nice. Let's move back to our other seed. Okay. So we don't have door spam anymore, but we do have this one in the corner. And it's not too bad, right? But personally, I would prefer if there was just one entrance here that went like that. And then you could branch off a bit. Okay? This is just a personal preference thing that I'm adding in here. So feel free to skip this step if you want, or you can put it on a Boolean to allow or disallow corner doors. So to get rid of that corner door, I have to go back and check my stuff. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to test how many neighbors the corridor has. Okay. So this here is, and we're just going to bring it down and comment it. Check for floor intersection with preceding, or floor intersection with flanking corridor or floor tile. And I'm just going to turn off bubbles on that guy. There we go. Okay. I'm also going to turn off spawn tiles here. Okay. So we're doing that. Next, we're going to move this out of the way, and we're going to copy this again. Okay. We want to again go from corridor tiles. Oop. There we go. And we need to come out of here. Okay. And then what we're going to do here is, so we're checking our neighbors. So now we're, just spawn these tiles. So we're in this corner and we're checking, do I have a corridor neighbor here, 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 or here? If the answer is more than one, so like this here only has one corridor neighbor. This entrance only has one corridor neighbor. Okay, so if you have more than one corridor neighbor, don't make a door because you're in a non-linear area. So we're going to do a, not a branch, we're going to do a select of each of these. And then we are going to do an int plus int. Okay, and we're just going to copy that out 4 times. Okay, if it does have a neighbor, it's going to have a value of 1. If it does not have a neighbor, so if there's, so on true, it'll be 1, on false, it'll be 0. Okay, and then we're going to plug those all into here. And we're going to say, is that greater than 1? I'm going to come out to a reroute node, just because that helps when we collapse it. So this is another graph where we're going to take it, we're going to collapse it. Does tile have non-linear neighbors? Actually, I'm going to rename that. Tile has non-linear neighbors. There we go. So if the tile has non-linear neighbors, then we don't want to do anything. So we want to make sure that is not true before we spawn. So we're going to take this here. We're going to do an AND. Just like that. Actually, right here we could, do I want to collapse that? No, collapsing that just kind of gets noisy with a bunch of collapsed graphs. So, we're going to leave it full. Okay. So, we check this, we make sure it doesn't have non-linear neighbors, and then we're going to branch based on that. And then if that's all true, we'll come in and spawn doors. Uh-oh, what did I do? Seriously though, what did I do? We've got all this that was just working. Okay, let's just come back to here and we'll plug this in. We're checking each of our corridor locations. So we're testing corridor tiles in 1, neg1, neg1. If we hit something, we go true. we add all those integers together. If they're greater than 1, they give us that. And, oh, not. I forgot to put the not boolean there. We want to make sure it's not part of that or doesn't have nonlinear neighbors. That's my problem. Compile and save. And there we go. We now got rid of that corner door. Okay. So now that we're at this point, we are going to flag it that, hey, we found a door. Okay. Then, after we found a door, we are going to add the door as an instance. So I'm just going to copy this here. We want that value. Straighten those off there. Just like, yay, we found a door. And there's our rotation for our door. Okay. And then what we want to do with that is we want to save the transform. So we're going to make a transform, make transform. Okay. But then we also need to make the opposite transform for the, so we're getting the spot on the floor, or sorry, on the corridor, so we're getting this tile, and we need this opposite room tile. So that means we need another one of these rotators. And you need to get a bunch of these. With its selector. Okay. We're going to change our Boolean to an int vector. We're going to plug our locations into them. Okay. Now we need to plug that integer in there. Okay. And our rotations need to be rotated opposite. So we're coming opposite of these. So it's going to be all on the z-axis. We're going to be 180, neg 90, 0, and 90. Gonna get that location that we're currently working with. I'm just going to go to one floor tile node here, just for cleanliness. Okay, so we're doing that. Then we've got our rotation. We are going to do this math here. Okay. And then we are going to make another transform. Okay. For sanity's sake, we're going to collapse this. After we output the transforms, we're going to do a reroute node just to get that out of there. And collapse this. Get transform of room, or get transform of door on room tile. There we go. And then what we're going to do is, with these couple transforms here, we are going to save them out. So we're going to do door transforms. This is going to be an array of transforms. So we're going to add unique. And the reason we're doing this is because it means we've done all the work to find the doors when setting up the doors, and we don't need to duplicate that work when setting up the walls. We don't have to re-find the door locations. We already have the door locations. Okay. And there we go. Now we still have this over here. What are we doing with that? Well, we're pretty much doing the same thing again. Because this time, we're just doing a simple setup and making sure that it is not using linear neighbors still. Because when we finish doing this, we're going to do a branch. And if we didn't find a door, so door not found, then we're going to try a simpler setup. Okay? And before we actually implement that, let me show you why we're doing it. So we're going to compile, save. So right now we have this, and it is laid out exactly how we want. Okay? However, if we load think it's this one. Yes, this one here. So this corridor here, when we make walls here, and we can't see it that it's an issue right now, but when we make walls here, this will be blocked off. There'll be no door here. Okay, because it ends up thinking that it's well, the way we have it set up, the doors will only exit out the ends. And since this isn't going into an end, it's coming off the side, there'll never be a door there. So we're saying, hey, if I didn't find any doors, do a simpler check. Okay. And then if our simpler check is true, simple check. No doors found. Okay, so we're going to do our simpler check, and then we're doing the exact same thing here. We're going to grab all that. Just like that there. Just plugging everything back in. See, isn't this cleaner than the first one I showed you? You know, my reference mess? Look at that. So much better. Okay. So now that we're doing that, if we compile and save, the area that had an issue before still doesn't have a door. This should have a door. Oh, because I don't want to come off there. I want to come off the completed here. Compile and save. And now we have a door there. Ah. They just plugged into the wrong pin. Okay. Now we need to set up our walls spawning. Ooh. Look at that. That's a mess of doors. So, we're going to do two things now. We are going to set up the removing tiles like this in the middle of the room. Okay. And we need to fix that for culling as well. So if we do floor culling, it doesn't have things in the middle of the room. And then we need to set up our walls spawning so that when we come to areas like this, we don't just have a door there, we have a wall coming along and a wall on the inside of our corridor. So let's go start that. So our door spawning, we're happy with. And we're going to go to spawn tiles. Okay, we've got door spawning. We are going to do a new function. Spawn tiles underscore remove excess or remove duplicate tiles. Okay. So to remove duplicate tiles, we're going to do a couple things. So we're going to go in and get our corridor tiles. And for each of those, we are going to do pretty much the same thing we just did. I'm kidding. It's not quite that bad. We're going to do a test relative tile location. Okay. And we're going to test from corridor tiles. Okay. And our reference location is going to be this one. And again, we're just going to copy that out 4 times. Like, we could do it 8 times if you want to do diagonals. Be glad we aren't working with a hex grid. Can you imagine that? Setting this up for hex grid? Just takes so long. Okay. We're gonna have 1, 1, neg 1, neg 1. Oh. Neg 1. There we go. Okay. Then we're going to do not. Okay. And then we're going to do an and. For all of them. We're going to do a branch. So what this is checking is this a tile that has no neighbors? Okay. So this is a tile that is all by itself. So if we head out here and we find that door spam here, it's not going to fix those two, but it'll fix this one. Okay. This tile all by itself has no corridor neighbors in its 4 cardinal directions. So what we want to do is we're going to get our floor tiles. We're going to do an add unique. And we're going to do this, add the array element. This right here, what we just built, does not fix anything we're dealing with right now. Okay? I said it fixed that one out there, but I was lying. Because this one is on top of a floor tile right now. It's just, it didn't get called properly while everything else is setting up. It's doing so many things, looping through so many arrays. It's just a bug in the engine that we're going to clean up later. But what this does is, if this was a called floor tile, so if there's a hole in the floor in this room there, then it would fill the hole. Okay? So we're adding that location. Then, when that's completed, we're going to do a for each loop. And instead of going through corridor tiles, we are going to go through floor tiles. And for each floor tile, we're going to get corridor tiles. And we're going to remove an item from it. So this way, anywhere that there's overlapping tiles, like these ones here, it's going to remove them. So if we compile and save, and then we have to go to our spawn tiles, we're going to replace this here with our remove duplicate tiles. And then we should see when we compile this, all that mess goes away. And we screwed that up. Okay, so we're gonna change that. Instead of corridor tiles, we are going to make this floor tiles. And we're gonna see if they are surrounded by 4 floor tiles. Instead of not being surrounded by neighboring corridor tiles, are they surrounded by floor tiles? And then that won't break our single corridor hallways. There we go. Easy fix if I was using my brain, but we're at 1 a.m., so yeah, not much hope of that. Okay, so next we need walls. So where was the example of the parallel hallway? There's the parallel hallway. Okay, so let's make walls. And so we are going to go back to our spawn tiles. We're going to take this here. We're going to copy. And then we're going to do a new function. Oh, not a new graph, a new function. Spawn tiles underscore walls. Okay. We're going to go back to our spawn tiles. We're going to get rid of its wall section. So we're going to double check that we've got that copied. We're going to delete it. And as soon as it's done deleting, I'm going to go turn off the floor spawning right now. There we go. And then back here, we are going to plug that in there, and we're going to bring our spawn tiles walls out. So we do our remove duplicates, we get our doors, and now we're doing our walls. Okay. Okay, so we're going to do a for loop. Okay, our first index is going to be 0. Our last index is going to be 1. We're then going to do a select. And with our options 0 and 1, we're going to choose our floor tiles or our corridor tiles. So out under our old spawn tiles, we're working with them all in one group. Now we're going to work with them separately. Then we're going to do a for each loop. Going to get our array element, plug it in there. We're going to get our array and plug it in here. So just a quick reminder, what our spawn walls is actually doing is looking for neighbors, and if the neighbor does not exist, it spawns a wall in its place. So it's just filling holes. What we want to do, though, is before we fill that hole, we're going to make a transform. Okay. We are going to get our... Damn it, I'm dumb. Okay. We're going to go back to our doors. Our door transforms here. We're going to make a new global variable called doors. Door transforms. Of course. Door locations. I'm going to replace that with door transforms, because we need that to be a global one that we can reference later. And that means our local one, door transforms, should have no references. We can delete it. Compile, save. Okay. So now, if we go to our spawn walls, do this, and then we get our door locations. Contains okay, so is this location we just decided to put a wall at in the door group? And we want to make sure that is not the case before actually spawning it. So we're gonna move this forward. And so there's not another tile there, and the location is not a door location. Okay, and then that's going through our corridors, and that's going through our floors. So now, if we take a look at this and we spawn tiles, we now see, hey look, this room has a wall there, there's a door that is open on both sides, and then the inside of the corridor has a wall. Okay, let's go back to our first door spam example. And we'll see over here that our corridor is now closed off, where this used to be an open hole. It is now all closed off. Yay! And then we're going to go through all my sequences of bad seeds and see if we're getting any weirdness. So that looks fine. We're not getting any like doors spawning inside of rooms, things like that. Okay, that also looks good. Looking good. Everything's connected. There's no drops. Oh, this one's interesting. So we've got a sideways corridor there and a sideways corridor there. I like that setup. Yeah, some of these problem ones are like my favorites now. So like you get this like really multi-setup room, you get that where it's like you're traveling down inside the corner to get the next room that's right there. You've got this one here where you have to come around that corner to get in over there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Beautiful. That's a huge area that's all together, though. Okay. Again, no big weirdness, no disconnects. And we've got doors where doors are supposed to be. And then the last one is the first one we started on. So now let's try it with floor culling. This floor culling broke it like mad before. And now we've got floor culling and everything's connecting. And ooh. Ooh. We have an issue. So, new exciting issue. We have that. So there's an inside corner. We typically don't want to spawn a door there. But now we're like, oh hey, we need to spawn a door there. How do I get that happening only if I really, really need it? So what happens if we go to our door spawn and we don't check the nonlinear neighbors there? So now we've got a door there. Okay. But, and I'm gonna copy that spawn over. If we go back to our first one, and we turn off floor culling so we get the same map. Now we come over here and we still get that. So we still get that there. Okay, let's go back to the last one where it was an issue. So that was right here. Like, this does make something interesting. Like, that's an edge case. That is a really weird edge case. Yeah. And like you get this one where it's performing. Yeah. Like we're better by a lot, and let's say we do like more culling. So floor cull minimum 2 tiles, maximum 10 tiles. Now we get some really weirdly chopped up rooms, but we still get everything connecting. Yeah. Let's do a new seed. Everything's connecting. So we are going to add a selector here. So we're gonna have a select. If it's false, we do that. If it's true, we make it true, and it's a Boolean, and it'll go right in there. So we can force this true, and we're gonna make that a map setting with all the other ones. We're gonna duplicate one of those, and we're gonna call this edge case fix inner corner doors. Or we'll just call it corner doors. So then, depending on your map, so what I would do in this case is, so yeah, let's just make sure that works. So I'll go back to my mother load map, and my edge case is off by default. Oh, and I need to set my floor culling to false. Okay, so there we go. We get what I like for this map. But then if you get a blocked one, you can set it to edge case fixing, and it adds that door just in that corner. Yeah. So you've got a toggle that you can turn it on and off. And then what I do is just generate a bunch of maps for your game. So instead of having just like a completely random, or like maybe have a completely random, or like a user enterable number as well, but have maps you know work, generate a bunch of stuff, and if you run into those edge cases, you've got the fix button, and then instead of being truly random, you have your players choose from random seeds that you've vetted, and just have like 200 or 300 different ones that you've just gone through and be like, huh, I want a new seed. Boom. Does that look good? Everything's connected. Does it flow nice? Those areas are a little bit too big. Let's try something else. There's a nice one. Interesting flow. Some backtracking, but it's like looping in that. Just double check everything connects good. Yeah, good. I'll write down that number and the settings I use for it. Or turn these settings into a struct and just save those out, or save them to a text file or something like that. But yeah. So that's that. If you guys find any issues with the generator, please let me know. I'm gonna turn back on floor culling because it gives me the weirdest results, and I just want to see if I can break anything here as I'm finishing up my outro. But yeah, if you guys find anything that's just not working or weird edge cases, like that one right there, where there is just a corner cut out of a room. Like, that's, how the hell do you even fix that? That's just like, all in all, this is a bad map. Like, just, it's so rough. There's things that are almost cut off. Yeah. Like, this is just a bad layout. There's going to be a few bad seeds. Because I'm not going to try to fix that. That's just dumb. But hey, when you do, like, massive floor culling, that's the sort of weirdness you get. So I would, actually, let's go back to the one that was just cut off. Okay, so see, we've got that. It's cut off on room 10. If I put my floor culling back to something more sane, so like, usually I have it at 3. If I put it down to 5, there we go. Everything connects again. So just don't use super high values of floor culling unless you're using really big rooms. It's like, make sure your ranges are sane, because not everything's gonna work. Like, don't try generating thousands of rooms and that sort of stuff. And then, yeah, it's like, you just get, like, this one's not even that bad, because, yes, there's disconnected stuff, but at least, like, what is connected, you can travel through and it gives you an end room. It's not great that it's disconnected, but, actually, you know what? Let's, do we fix it? I really don't want to fix it. No. No, screw it. No. Like, I know how to fix it. You take this room, so your A or B point that you created, and then with that A or B point, or like the other thing you have is just fail this out. Right? So if in your map corridors you run into a spot where it's like there are no endpoints or the endpoints are invalid, just fail it out and don't generate any further. Problem solved. But alternatively, you can get this point. You can check relative sides. If they have none, you can check their relative sides, and then just connect in the sequence of where you had to go to get. So it'd be like, check here, 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 and here. There's no relative floor. Okay, here. Check relative floor. Oh, there is one. Make a tile. Right? It's a pretty simple fix. But I'll do it in the next video. I just talked myself into it. But right now we're at like 1:30, and I'm gonna go to bed because I still have a full-time job I have to get to tomorrow. So, thank you for watching. Again, if you run into anything else that's just off, then let me know, because I want to get this to like a finalized, really nice thing. And yeah, I'll fix that weird edge case tomorrow. Why? I want it to go back to, there we go. I want it to go back here because I'm gonna save it in this setup, so next time I load it up, it goes here and I can see the bad edge case. But anywho, I think we're like 99% there, and I think once I do that edge case, we'll be 100%, unless you guys find any other issues. So thank you again for watching. We're gonna end it on the new outro because I just love it. And we'll see y'all next time. Again, if you want access to the files for this project, you can throw me a little bit of money on Patreon and then just download them directly. But the learning stuff is always available for free, or necessary stuff like the tiles in this series are always going to be free and publicly available. So, yeah, good night.